Welcome to Registered, the podcast of the Catholic Register, where we'll be taking a look beyond the headlines of the stories that graced all of our platforms over the past week. I'm Mickey Conlon, editor of the Register, alongside associate editor Quinton Amundson and reporter Luke Mandato. This week's episode is brought to you by the Catholic Children's Aid Foundation, supporting children, youth, and families served by Ontario's child welfare system through the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto. From emergency essentials like food and safe housing to long-term programs that build stability and hope, your support makes it possible. Visit ccafdn.ca and help change a child's story. Well, it's been a week that celebrated the pro-life cause across Canada, with the National March for Life taking place in Ottawa and provincial capitals nationwide. But the highs came crashing down a bit on Monday with the death of the giant in pro-life circles. That would be Mr. Jim Hughes. Jim passed away surrounded by family at the age of 83. A giant in the cause of life, there is no doubt. He's even been called the Pope of the pro-life movement. Jim spent more than 50 years as a leader in the fight for life, 34 years as national president of the Campaign Life Coalition. He finally retired from doing about 80 hours a week for the fight for life in 2018 to relax just a little bit and put in maybe about 60 hours a week for the cause afterwards. So Jim, of course, is no stranger to readers of the Register. And Quinton, you wrote a glowing profile of Jim for our Lives Lived for Life magazine a couple years back. We've posted that again to our website at catholicregister.org. So please take a look at that and get a glimpse into this man's life. So, Quinton, what is it that struck you about Jim's dedication to the pro-life cause?
I'll say this, Becky, that piece is probably, 2,500 words, and I don't even think that we scratched the surface of how great a guy Jim was, because he put so much good in the world, but because of his humble nature, nobody, heard about it. He would just do all these great things anonymously and maybe more importantly, put other people in positions to accomplish great deeds himself. He saw the unrealized potential in other people and empowered them to go on to become great pro-life leaders. So, of course, we could go into how he brought the National March to Life to Canada, the way that he grew Campaign Life Coalition into a really formidable national movement, and also his work with backing pro-life legislation MPs. But I just want to zero in on four things of what made him an impressive Christian, because that really underpinned everything he did. So, number one, Jesus had a really intense love for the little ones of the world, and Jim had the same. He would never compromise on his pro-life ideals for a single second. He viewed every life in God as a gift in God's image, and there was no rationale for any preborn child to die for abortion. So he was just very resolute, and that was admirable. And number two, as you alluded, Mickey, great servant leader. 80 hours per week at its most active. And number three, Jesus was the ultimate bridge builder, and Jim was the great connector of people. And number four, Jim really practiced Jesus' example to love everybody, even those with beliefs that violate everything that you believe in. I keep reflecting on the moment where Jim literally said to the face of Henry Morgenthaler, the famous abortionist, Henry, I'm praying for you. And he had such love for somebody who was totally the opposite and, really espoused and pushed everything that violated the core of what Jim fought for 50 years of his life. But he still had love and forgiveness for that man. And I just found that incredible. And we have to all try to be a little bit more like Jim Hughes. If the world had a few more Jim Hughes, it'd be a more beautiful place. I think he is the genuine article, and it's a huge loss for the world and for the pro-life movement.
I had that actual conversation with Jim at one point when he met Dr. Henry Morgenthaler, and it was good. I guess you think that they're probably at each other's throats and everything, but there was a mutual respect between the two of them, and It even sounded to me like they had a little bit of fun together at times, and that conversation itself was probably one of those. It probably was a bit of a hoot. It was at I believe a downtown Toronto restaurant where they met. They saw each other across the room, gave a wave, and then just went up and probably shook hands. And hey, how you doing there, Henry? How you doing, Jim? And let's go. So. Very, very nice. So, but Jim's connection to the Register actually goes back quite a while. He actually once sold ads for us, so that would be many, many, many years ago. He's also related to Jim O'Leary, our former publisher and editor. I believe they're second cousins. Something along those lines. And myself, I've played ball and hockey with Jim's son, Jim Jr. Over the years. So they, as I said, very very much a connection to the Register. But going back to about the National March for Life, that's really something that can't be underestimated about Jim and his legacy. Like that really is one of the great things he left us. It took place over a few days last week. Uh, People heard, that Jim was not doing well. He was in hospital. I'm sure it probably still surprised people when they found out that he did pass. So. But it draws thousands every year. It's one of the biggest gatherings on Parliament Hill every year. Of course, the only ones who really seem to cover it is the Catholic media, us. And though I did actually see something in the National Post this week. So, but Luke, you saw it firsthand last year. You attended the March for Life. I believe it was the first one you've ever been to in Ottawa. Of course, events elsewhere in the world took the focus off the march, that being the election of Pope Leo the 14th. Still, you saw the passion of the marchers, and this is kind of right up Jim's alley. So tell us what you found about that passion in all the stories you've done last year on the march, and also you've done other stories, including one not too long ago about the march.
That's right, Mickey. Yeah, passion is definitely the word. It's something that really you have to see to believe. I was talking to Quinton a few weeks ago on Registered about my experience there, and it really is every little corner and pocket of Canada is represented there. All these different groups, no matter where they come from, are coming together for this one cause on that day. Really admirable this year, especially with everything going on with Jim. Of course, like you said, he couldn't be present this year, but for them to continue and go on so strongly, and from what I've heard, had a great week there in the nation's capital, it is incredibly admirable. It's something that, the people running it, the people attending, I don't think would miss for the world. It's really not a talking point for these people. Pro-life, support and advocacy is not a talking point that they just skim over. It's something that they all really live out. It's something that Jim really lived out, and that's something that Quinton and I discussed as well. So the energy is one thing, and then it's also just the organization is always incredible to see. You've seen it in the stories we've done, Mickey. There's always such intense planning with all the events that go on that week. The march itself, the rose dinner, the expo that they put on, the youth summit. There's so many different moving pieces that they're able to do, and to have it all sort of centralized in one spot is just incredible to see how it plays out. And the people, you talk about figures that are larger than life, like Jim Hughes, and I think of people like Alex Schadenberg, people like Amanda Achman that are always present, these pro-life figures that are just doing so much behind the scenes that we don't realize. Quinton said Jim Hughes had his hand in so many different areas that, it's only when you step back and look, you see how much that this cause actually means to people like that. It's really inspirational. There's people that attend the event that maybe it's their first time going, or it's their first tangible sign of pro-life advocacy. And then there's people that have been doing it for, the better part of 50 years or more. So it's incredible to see that they all come for one cause, no matter what your experience or background is with it at that time. To go out on that day and that week and show your support is incredible.
Yeah. And Jim definitely he led by example there. So Rest in peace, Jim. You're a good man who did good work for many years. And you've got lots of people carrying it on for you. So, but if we're going to talk about some passionate people, we also have to look beyond the pro-life cause, and we don't have to look much farther than Deacon Mike Walsh. Mike Walsh heads up the National Catholic Broadcasting Council, which brings the daily TV Mass to thousands of viewers across Canada and the world. Luke, you've told us about a temporary move where I hope, of the daily TV Mass from its home at Loretto Abbey in North Toronto, a little bit to the east to Manresa, the Jesuit Spiritual Centre in Pickering. What prompted that move?
Yeah, I think in the article, Mickey, we said trading one holy space for another, and that seems to be the case. So, yes, as you mentioned, going up a bit northeast to Manresa and Pickering, the Jesuit Spiritual Renewal Center. This is something that has been toyed with in the past. They've done some minor trips there for filming in the past. Again, all going back to some major renovation and reconstruction at Loretto Abbey School. And while it hasn't directly affected the chapel, this next current phase that they're in is pretty extensive. We're looking at a new front entrance, gymnasium, cafeteria, extensive remodeling of the internal rooms for accessibility for the school. And the team there, Mike Walsh and NCBC, have decided it's best to, just for the entire process of filming, to take it to Manresa. And so far, they found some really nice spiritual fruit in that move. It's actually altered their filming schedule, but in a way that's allowing them to sort of be present, be in that area, be in that space, be together more. So the article goes into some great detail about how they're finding the move really enjoyable thus far. Like you said, a move is never easy. So we're hoping for at least the next handful of months that they're going to be there. I think it extends out to about a year or a bit more than a year that they're going to be there. So that's what's been going on. But there's also some more exciting things going on at Daily TV Mass, Mickey. Different work with Mike Walsh. You know, we were joking before the call that there's really so much that he does for NCBC, whether it's the Daily TV Mass or other initiatives. So there's a lot of exciting things coming up, and this move is sort of the start of that.
Well, I know one of the things that they are doing is they have released the second Deacon Robert Kinghorn book. Of course, Catholic Register Publications released the first, and this is just a continuation. And of course, of all the books we've released in our days, probably Deacon Roberts has been one of the more successful, and I can't imagine that's going to change with the second one. So now the Daily TV Mass, they're not just a broadcaster, they're a publisher, and they've got a few other things up their sleeves. So what else does Deacon Mike have on his plate?
Yeah, it's a packed plate for sure. So as you mentioned, the release of that second book from Deacon Robert Kinghorn, Church on the Street Ministry of Presence. I believe the first one was released around 2019. So it's a few years in the making now. But they were really excited about that. To coincide with that, they're going to be releasing a 5-part video series on pastoral ministry with Deacon Robert, of course, sort of intended to be a resource for parishes or volunteer organizations. So that's going to be a really nice accompanying piece to that second book. The other thing that they've been looking at is launching a Substack. It was originally going to launch on Pentecost, but due to some timing issues, it's going to be pushed back a little bit. But nonetheless, it was something Walsh was really excited about when we spoke. Essentially, sort of a written text format publication for Catholics looking to enhance their faith outside of Mass, as the name suggests, go in peace, practical things they can think about, reflect on, and do in between Masses. So that Substack is going to be coming out soon. He hinted at some other things, a couple things a little too far down the line to touch on with the move, but Mike was just really excited to get settled. He says things have been going well. Filming schedule is on par with their other locations, and lots of exciting things coming up, whether Substack, video series, or book launches. Mickey, there's always something going on at the National Catholic Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of this is like I know Quinton did many stories on the Daily TV Mass. from the COVID days and coming out of COVID. And you're just wondering that, I guess, maybe things got so busy for Deacon Mike that, hey, there's maybe it got some things churning in his head. Maybe we can do this and do that. So you wonder, like I know Quinton, as I said, you talked to Deacon Mike then, and did you ever imagine that he was going to be taking almost like a little the daily TV mass conglomerate sort of thing going?
Did not think that he'd come up with so many initiatives, so quickly. But I get a sense that he viewed the opportunity during COVID where the community just blossomed and more people started to view these broadcasts as a source of comfort. And, through initiatives like the Book of Remembrance and the prayer initiatives, they've been able to foster a community and people that listen to these broadcasts somewhere in Ontario feel some sort of a connection with people that listen in like Africa or England. It's really remarkable what he's done. And we did a story about his uh, efforts at leading this institution as it approached its 25th anniversary in 2023. And he is making sure with all the vibrant initiatives that it's going to be really strong going into the 50th anniversary in 2048. He obviously believes that being a neutral and just resting on your laurels is not the best way to ensure the ongoing vitality of an institution. So he wants to make sure that the daily TV mass is robust for many years to come, and you got to applaud him for that.
And it's really rare as well, Quinton, that he's the one really making that push. It's so often that we'll have communications departments reach out with all of these pitches and then we'll talk to the ad group over here and we'll talk to the editorial team. It's Mike that's sending out these messages with opportunities for initiatives and different collaborations. He's the one that I think you and I have spoken with the most over there at the council, to correct myself, National Catholic Broadcasting Council, not corporation, as I said before. But it's really been amazing to see Mike really take the lead on it. That's inspiring, and it's always sort of, he seems like the mastermind behind all of these. I'm sure he has great help with a great team, but to see him take to it is great to see.
Yeah, excellent. Yes, and best of luck to Mike and the National Catholic Broadcasting Council in everything they're doing. And hey, maybe good luck to the Montreal Canadiens, you think? They're doing our quest, Canada's quest for the Lord Stanley's mug is it's in the Habs' hands. And of course, the ladies of the Montreal Victoire, they took home the Walter Cup and Canada's first PWHL championship. And, Toronto, we can't be left out of the fun because the Toronto Rock, oddly enough, playing out of Hamilton, they're the champions of the National Lacrosse League. So lots of big things happening in sports for us. But I guess the biggest thing, we await the FIFA World Cup. It lands in North America in a few weeks. Canada, US, and Mexico hosting. Here in Canada, we'll be hosting 13 of those games, 6 of them in Toronto, the others in Vancouver. Of course, Canada, we're cheering on the home side, who will be taking on Bosnia-Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland in first-round play. But with the World Cup comes the seedier side, and Quinton, you detailed that in a story this week on the scourge of human trafficking that often accompanies such high-profile events.
Yeah, Mickey, there's always the risk with these sorts of events of just the mass movement of people. It just creates exposure points. And because of the mass need for infrastructure process, labor exploitation, there's a risk there. We don't want to really labor the point too much, but I just think that the entire public could be an ally by, researching the risks of trafficking at these major events, and perhaps look at what the Mary Ward Center, a Catholic nonprofit, for advice on how to safeguard yourself and maybe be part of the solution of preventing if you see anything that's troubling. And I would always, of course, recommend the Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking. They have the hotline. Look up their resources. We all could play a role in ensuring that trafficking is not a problem like it has been in previous FIFA World Cups. But overall, we wanted to get this message out very early because the rest of the time we want to celebrate the prestige and the patriotism and the great spectacle of sport that's coming to our country that should mean some really vibrant summer days in our country.
Yeah, and we're going to have plenty on our plate to in the coming weeks about the World Cup. I know we're doing stuff on the chaplaincy, what chaplaincies are on offer in Toronto and Vancouver. I know it seems that almost the whole team, Team Canada, comes from Brampton and went to Catholic schools. So we're hoping to have some something on that in the coming weeks and stuff out of Vancouver. So just keep abreast of it at catholicregister.org, and of course always subscribe to the paper. You can find it there as well. So predictions. Does Canada advance?
I can see Canada getting out of the group stage. I think Canada, Switzerland out of the group stage for sure. As a long-suffering Italian soccer fan, I watched all of the Bosnia-Herzegovina matches that led up, especially them eliminating Italy in the final knockout stage there for qualification. So I've seen their play. I'm not super impressed. I don't know if that's just, angry bitterness talking as an Italian fan, but I like what I've seen from Canada so far. I'm a big fan of Jesse March, and I could see them at least, getting into the knockout stages. I would like that.
I will say, the World Cup is better when Italy is in it. If you've seen the streets of Toronto, you guys weren't even born when I first saw it. I guess it was, I'm going to say 1982 World Cup when Italy won, and the place where I live was not far from the old St. Bridget's neighborhood. Was very, very Italian, and they shut down the Danforth and put on a huge celebration into the wee hours of the morning. So it's the passion there is wonderful to see. So
Yeah,
how about you, Quinton? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I guess that we could just take comfort in the fact that, you look at previous Olympics and major sporting events, Canada seems to deliver its best stuff when we host events on our home soil. So you'd have to hope for that sort of fortune to, continue. And I mean, there have been strides. There's obviously a lot of impressive talent that we're going to be profiling in the weeks ahead. So, there is as good of time as anything for a good story to be written here about the success of this team.
And we'll bring it all to you. So, well, that brings us to an end of this episode of Registered. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, to you people out there who are tuning in, and thanks to our sponsor, the Catholic Children's Aid Foundation, which supports children, youth, and families served by Ontario's child welfare system through the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto. Visit ccafdn.ca and help change a child's story. And don't forget, as always, to check out catholicregister.org for all your breaking Catholic news from home and abroad. Thanks again, and we hope to see you next week.